Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel where today we're going to do a bookshelf tour. We're going to go ahead and take a look at all the books that I own. So I did this last year, and in some ways my bookshelves have very much stayed the same, and in some ways they are completely different. So I wanted to go ahead and do an update for you guys. Um, so you guys, I'm going to show you all the books on my shelf. But I'm not going to give you a description because we would be here forever if I tried to do that. I will definitely read the title. I will read read the name of the author, and if it's part of a series, I will let you know that as well. Before we jump into it, I just kind of want to let you know that I do split my bookshelves up into 4 basic sections. The first is the physical TBR, right? So anything that I haven't read is all grouped together. And then I have the section that is like the books that I absolutely adore. I've read them, I love them. That is the majority of the books on my shelf at this point. And then I have two other categories that I think are a little bit unusual for people. And the very first one is books I need to reread to determine if I love them enough to keep them. So these are mostly series where it's like, it might be a series where the books came out a year apart and I really want to reread it close together to determine if the series as a whole is really good. Or it might be something where I finished it and I thought, I don't know how I feel about this. And so I'm going to reread it and see kind of if that helps solidify my feelings. And then there is one series on the shelf where it's like, I read it and loved it, but it was so long ago that I actually no longer remember anything about it. So everything that I need to reread, anything that's kind of like that, goes up on that shelf in the hopes that I will read them soon so that I can figure out a better place for them, whether that is on the shelves with all the books that I love or leaving my house. And then the last section, which is again a little bit more unusual, is that I have a shelf for books that are in series that I'm in the middle of, but I don't yet know if I love it yet. So this is also a shelf that is lovingly called purgatory because it's just I don't know what I'm gonna do with them yet. I really like having a shelf like this because the organizer in me is just like, well, I've read them, so they don't go on my physical TBR shelves. And I don't know yet if I love them, so they can't go with the books that I love. And so I just created a whole section for them because it made things better. But also it's really nice because it serves as a physical reminder of what series I'm in the middle of, especially because most of the books on that shelf, it's I've there are books that have been published that I haven't read, so I could get caught up on them. And so I really do like having them separated out. But I think that's all the information you need, so let's go ahead and turn you guys around. Okay, guys, and here are my bookshelves, and we are going to go through all of these books. So we are going to go ahead and start over on the top left-hand shelf. And these are the books that I need to reread to determine if I want to keep them. So let's start on the left. And we have the Hunger Games trilogy by Suzanne Collins, which is The Hunger Games, Catching Fire, and Mockingjay. We have the Steampunk Chronicles Quartet by Katie Cross, which is The Girl in the Steel Corset, The Girl in the Clockwork Collar, The Girl with the Iron Touch, and The Girl with the Wind-Up Heart. Next to it, we have the Goldseer trilogy by Rae Carson, which is Walk on Earth a Stranger, Like a River Glorious, and Into the Bright Unknown. Next to it, we have the Girl of Fire and Thorns trilogy by Rae Carson, which is The Girl of Fire and Thorns, The Crown of Embers, and The Bitter Kingdom. Next to it, we have the first book in the Agency series by Y.S. Lee, and it is called A Spy in the House. Next to it is an anthology of short stories called Carney Punk with no editor that I could find. Next to that is Oz Reimagined, edited by John Joseph Adams and Douglas Cohen, and this is another short story anthology. And then on the right-hand side, I do have all the books that I have read so far in the month of December, and that is Superman Dawnbreaker by Matt De La Pena, Fantasy Magazine Special Issue, People of Color Destroy Fantasy, Ashes on the Waves by Mary Lindsay, and then the first book of the other series, Written in Red by Anne Bishop. The next shelf over, this is purgatory, you guys. These are all the books that are in series that I'm just not sure if I'm going to want to keep them. So we have the first 3 books in the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas, and that is Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, and Heir of Fire. We also have The Assassin's Blade, which is a short story collection for the Throne of Glass series. Next to it is Truth Witch by Susan Dennard, then Forged in Fire and Stars by Andrea Robertson, Leviathan Wakes by James S.A. Corey, The Strange Affair of Spring Heel Jack by Mark Hoder, The Good Luck Girls by Charlotte Nicole Davis, the first 3 books of the Stoker and Holmes series by Colleen Gleason, and that is The Spirit Glass Charade, The Chess Queen Enigma, and The Clockwork Scarab. Then we have Dirty Magic by Jay Wells, Unremembered by Jessica Brody, Dorothy Must Die by Danielle Page, Recurve by Shannon Mayer, and Rush by Eve Silver. And then we have Mind Games by Carolyn Crane and the first 3 books of the Ministry of Peculiar Occurrences series by Pip Ballantyne and T. Morris. And that is Phoenix Rising, The Janus Affair, and Dawn's Early Light. Down below that shelf, we have my Seanan McGuire shelf. This is not all of Seanan McGuire's books, but it's a good chunk of them. So we have the October Day series, which is 14 books long, and it starts with Rosemary and Rue, and then we have A Local Habitation, An Artificial Night, Late Eclipses, One Salt Sea, Ashes of Honor, Chimes at Midnight, The Winter Long, A Red Rose Chain, Once Broken Faith, the 10th Anniversary Edition of Rosemary and Rue, The Brightest Fell, Night in Silence, The Unkindest Tide, and A Killing Frost. Can we just take a moment, you guys? Why? Why did they switch her name in the title? It's the only book like that. It bothers me so much. Anyway, so next to the October Day series, we do have the Wayward Children series, and that is Every Heart a Doorway, Down Among the Sticks and Bones, Beneath the Sugar Sky, In an Absent Dream, and Come Tumbling Down. Then we have Middle Game, and then Dusk or Dawn or Dark or Day. And then the first 6 books in the Encrypted series. And that is Discount Armageddon, Midnight Blue Light Special, Half Off Ragnarok, Pocket Apocalypse, Chaos Choreography, and Magic for Nothing. And then next to it, that is my e-reader. And then moving over to the shelf next to it, we have, well, my horror section, which is also just honestly my Mira Grant section because that's all the horror that I currently own, which is not surprising because Mira Grant is a pen name for Seanan McGuire, which is why it's next to the Seanan McGuire shelf. But we have In the Shadow of Spindrift House, Into the Drowning Deep, the Parasitology trilogy, which is Parasite, Symbiont, which I don't actually know how to pronounce, and Chimera. And then we have the Newsflash series, which starts with the original trilogy, which is Feed, Deadline, and Blackout. Then we have the short story collection called Rise, and then Feedback, which is actually a novel that takes place at the same time as the first book, Feed, but it's from a different perspective. And then I have my wood wick candles, which I almost never burn because I just don't burn candles. And then we have my dystopian little section, and that is literally just the Divergent trilogy by Veronica Roth, and that is Divergent, Insurgent, and Allegiant. Down below that, we do have my science fiction books. And on the left is my more YA science fiction, and on the right is some more adult science fiction. And so we have Mind Games and Perfect Lies by Kirsten White. That's a duology. Stitching Snow by R.C. Lewis. The Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Mayer, which is Cinder, Scarlet, Cress, Winter, Fairest, which is a short story that goes between Cress and Winter, and then Stars Above, which is a short story collection. We have the first two books in the Firebird trilogy, which is 1,000 Pieces of You and 10,000 Skies Above You. And then we have the Sarantha Jax series and the Dread Chronicles by Anna Geary. And that is Grimspace, Wanderlust, Double Blind, Killbox, Aftermath, and Endgame in the Sarantha Jax series. And then we have Perdition, Havoc, and Breakout in the Dread Chronicles. Next to it, we have Lock-In and Head On by John Scalzi. This is How You Lose the Time War by Amal El-Mohar and Max Gladstone. The Murderbot Diaries series by Martha Wells, which is All Systems Red, Artificial Condition, Rogue Protocol, Exit Strategy, and Network Effect. We have the Machine of Death short story anthology edited by Ryan North, Matthew Bernardo, and David Malky. And then we have the Mad Scientist's Guide to World Domination, which is an anthology edited by John Joseph Adams. Next to it is more superhero fantasy kind of stuff, and then more urban fantasy. So, starting with the superhero, we have Wonder Woman, Warbringer by Leigh Bardugo, Batman, Nightwalker by Marie Lu, Miles Morales, Spider-Man by Jason Reynolds, Heroine Complex by Sarah Kuhn, and then the first two books in the Velveteen Versus series by Shauna Maguire, which is Velveteen Versus the Junior Super Patriots and Velveteen Versus the Multiverse. And then moving into the urban fantasy, we have the Indexing series by Shauna Maguire, which is Indexing and Indexing Reflections. We have the Others series by Anne Bishop. The first book is missing because I read it this month, but the second book is Murder of Crows. Then we have Vision in Silver, Marked in Flesh, and Etched in Bone. And then we have the Kate Daniels series by Ilona Andrews, and that is Magic Bites, Magic Burns, Magic Strikes, Magic Bleeds, Magic Slays. The spin-off novel, which is Gunmetal Magic, Magic Rises, Magic Breaks, Magic Shifts, Magic Binds, and Magic Triumphs. And then the last book on this shelf is Daniel O'Malley's The Rook. And then moving down, we have more high fantasy, epic fantasy, and then my paranormal romance. So starting over here, we do have the Six of Crows duology, which is Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom. The Seraphina duology, which is Seraphina and Shadow Scale by Rachel Hartman. The Six of Crows duology is by Leigh Bardugo. Next to that, we have The Order of the Pure Moon Reflected in Water by Zen Cho. The First Study trilogy by Maria V. Snyder, which is Poison Study, Magic Study, and Fire Study. Crown Duel, which is a bind-up of two books by Sherwood Smith, which is, I think they're called Crown Duel and Court Duel, but I'm not really sure. And then we have my paranormal romance. This stack is Ilona Andrews, and it is the first 5 books of the Hidden Legacies series, which is Burn for Me, White Hot, Wildfire, Sapphire Flames, and Emerald Blaze, as well as the novella Diamond Fire. And then we have the 4 books in the Edge series, which is On the Edge, Bayou Moon, Fate's Edge, and Steel's Edge. And then next to that, we do have my Patricia Briggs more paranormal romance stuff. This is On the Prowl, which is a short story collection that I only keep for the Patricia Briggs story because it is the start of the Alpha and Omega series. And then I have the first 3 books of the Alpha and Omega series, which is Cry Wolf, Hunting Ground, and Fair Game. I have Wind Demon's Walk, and then Steal the Dragon. And I am realizing I don't actually know what Steal the Dragon is about. I should probably reread that soon. So I'll do that. Next to it, we have a shelf, which is a little bit more miscellaneous. It's all the stuff that I really didn't know where to put. So we have romance, contemporary, like mystery, and then just contemporary, and then historical retellings of folk tales. It's super fun. So we have, we'll start with the romance. We have War Prize by Elizabeth Vaughn, Bet Me by Jennifer Cruz, Lucky in Love by Jill Shalvis, a Jill Shalvis romantic trilogy with instant attraction, instant gratification, and instant temptation. We have a Jill Shalvis duology, baseball duology, with double play and slow heat. And then we have the Shakespeare series by Charlene Harris. This is more the mystery. And it is Shakespeare's Landlord, Shakespeare's Champion, Shakespeare's Christmas, Shakespeare's Trollop, and Shakespeare's
Counselor. Now, this is a series that I cannot in good faith recommend because it's pretty terrible and problematic. It's a nostalgia read for me, and that's why it's still on my shelf. Next to it, we have The Secret Diary of Lizzie Bennett by Bernie Sue and Kate Rorick, Slay by Brittany Morris, and then The Girls at the Kingfisher Club by Genevieve Valentine. We have my pencil cup, and then next to it is actually the stuff that I'm in the middle of reading right now, and that is How to Fight a Dragon's Fury by Cressida Cowell, This Is How You Die, edited by Ryan North, Matthew Bernardo, and David Malky, and then my bullet journal. I don't actually own the How to Train Your Dragon book, by the way. That's my older child's, but it's there for now. And then the next shelf down is actually my physical TBR. So all of these books over here are my physical TBR. And then this is like my monthly TBR, which is why it's a little bit separated. But I'm not actually going to go through these books because I will do a dedicated video for my TBR shelf in January. And then that's when you'll see everything. And then moving over is my younger YA. And so these are books that I put here specifically so that my older child can go ahead and go grab them when he wants to read them. And I am totally fine with him doing that. And putting it here just makes it easier for him to grab them. So we have Wild Orchid by Cameron Doki, Dealing with Dragons and Searching for Dragons by Patricia C. Reed, The Marilyn the Magician duology by Patricia C. Reed, and that is Marilyn the Magician and the Magician's Ward. We have the Frontier Magic trilogy by Patricia C. Reed, which is The 13th Child, Across the Great Barrier, and The Far West. And then we get into my Tamora Pierce section, and we have the Immortals Quartet, which is Wild Magic, Wolfspeaker, Emperor's Mage, and The Realms of the Gods. And then we have the Protector of the Small Quartet, which is First Test, Page, Squire, and Lady Knight. And then the Trickster duology, which is Trickster's Choice and Trickster's Queen. Then we have my Harry Potter books. And then we go down to this shelf, and this is a lot of notebooks over here, and then my comics, and then my nonfiction. So starting with comics, we have the first volume of Bitch Planet by Kelly Sue DeConnick. I have the volumes 2 through 5 of Gem and the Holograms by Kelly Thompson, I believe. They don't have the name on the front cover. I don't have the first volume anymore because my older child took it to school and then promptly lost it. And I'm pretty sure somebody decided that it was now theirs. And I really do hope that they enjoyed the comic. But eventually I will replace it, just not yet. I have two volumes of Serenity Comics by Joss Whedon, which is Those Left Behind and Leaves on the Wind. I have Spider-Gwen, Ghost Spider, Spider-Geddon by Shauna McGuire. The first 2 volumes of iZombie by Chris Robertson, Dead to the World and New Vampire. The first 2 volumes of Heartstopper by Alice Oseman. And then XKCD Volume 0 by Randall Munroe. Next to it, I do have all of my nonfiction. And we have The Language Police by Diane Ravitch, On Writing Well by William Zinsser, The Gift of Fear by Gavin DeBecker, Better Off by Eric Brendy, Outliers and Blink by Malcolm Gladwell, Stuff by Randy O. Frost and Gail Steckety, How To and What If by Randall Munroe, Snoop by Gosling. I always forget this person's name. Sam Gosling. And then I have the D-Textbook by the Correct.com team. And then my last shelf is honestly just the blanket that I am currently working on, and then some more notebooks. And that is it, you guys. Those are my bookshelves. One last look. And there you go.
So there you go, you guys. All the books on my bookshelf. Except the one that I forgot. Okay, so actually there is one more book. It is up. I'm not going to pull down the camera for you, but it is up on the top of this bookshelf because it is too big to fit on the shelves. And it is called Thing Explainer by Randall Munroe. It is a nonfiction book. Now, those are all the books that I own. I hope you enjoyed this. Comment down below if any of these books looked interesting, you like them, you love them, you hate them, whatever. Especially let me know if there are books that you saw that you would like for me to prioritize reading or rereading, because I would love to do that for you. But that's all I have. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. But until next time, guys, have happy reading, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.